Right. In fact, I would say.
We have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Entertain a motion to include our electronic visitors.
So
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Coe?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Anyone sign up to
there was no one that signed up to speak this evening.
tonight? All right, then I should have the meeting minutes from January 7th, 2021. Please review those. Any changes, additions, deletions, corrections?
He was get busy, but not. Can we put that in his review? It's reflected in the minutes.
All right, anything? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Coe?
Aye.
Mr. Grzecki?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Robinson?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Before we get to Mr. Hedges, there's a few things that I want to announce and extend condolences to the family of Bob and Linda Vasquez. Their daughter Rachel was in a car accident yesterday at Plank Road and did not survive her injuries. Also want to extend condolences to the family of Emmanuel Delgado. Emmanuel was the 14-year-old twin, one of the twins that was struck on a skateboard on Highland Avenue. And unfortunately, he did not survive his injuries. And then earlier this week, and the family posted something on Facebook today, there were remains found behind a white oak, believed to be the remains of Walter Beamers. So I want to extend the condolences to the family of Walter Beamers. I'd like to do a short moment of silence for all three of our folks. Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Hedges.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing on the agenda is a motion to approve the reappointment of William Albert to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term.
Any questions on Mr. Albert?
For those of us that may not know, do we have any information?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a long-time Hampshire resident. He has actually volunteered a lot of time with the fire department, did a lot of their photography over the years.
It's Uncle Bill, the picture taker for the fire department. He's been on the zoning board for years.
He lives over on Julie, I believe.
Julie, yes, he does.
Hey, Albert.
Across from- Right next to Clyde Farrell, one of our fine residents who winters in Florida. His son Garrett, maybe spends the winter in his house. But yeah, Bill's been on the zoning board for a number of years. Very good at what he does. Very attentive, always at a meeting. Any further questions or comments? Then I will entertain a motion to reappoint Mr. William Albert to a 5-year term on the zoning board of appeals.
So moved.
Second.
Question or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Present.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Coe?
Aye.
Mr. Grzecki?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Mayor, we have a motion.
6501. I voted present. Sorry. It's not a no, but it's not.
Mayor, we would ask for a motion to approve the reappointment of Ken Swanson to the Plan Commission for a 3-year term.
Any questions about Mr. Swanson?
When people are being put up for either reappointment or appointment, is there an application or a file or anything that we get about who these people are? Who come to these commissions? Because I looked in the packet. I just would like to know who's on these, so I don't know who we're voting for. That's the only reason why I voted president. I didn't know. Mr. Albert may be doing a great job, so maybe Mr. Swanson, I just don't know. Did we get it?
Typically, I mean, the way it's worked in the past, if they've been on the board and they're willing to continue serving on the board, we reappoint them. It's usually a difficult endeavor to find people willing to serve on these two boards.
Do we post anything about board vacancies or commission vacancies like these on our website or social or?
We have
All
in
the
the
time.
past.
I shouldn't say all the time.
Okay.
Well, we have, I mean, we didn't do it this time around, but we have in the past when we can't find people, but typically not for reappointments. Like if that,
The
not.
reason why I ask is since I've been on the board, I don't know that we've ever advertised that we're looking for, that we have an opening coming up. And I may be wrong, but I don't remember seeing it in any of our channels. So again, this isn't a representation of who's being put up. This is more of a question on the process and what we're doing.
I know for the Business Development Commission, I posted in Facebook, I think 3 different times. And
Yeah, I have seen yours, trustee.
yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I have posted for
Yeah.
these.
Yeah, and you also provide like background of here's what they are, here's who they're with, this is why they add value to the
I
committee.
had to give then I sat in an interview with them. The first time I advertised, I got like 8 people apply. And I needed to take, I think just 1 or maybe even 2. But that was what I did at the time. I wasn't sure if it was the right thing. It made sense to me.
Sorry, somebody's phone decided to go off in the middle of the meeting.
Thank you.
Oh my, who was that, Linda?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll try to Linda tomorrow.
Or bookie.
Trustee, we do have vacancies on both of those boards right now. But we haven't been promoting filling them because there's been discussion of consolidating the 2 boards.
If we're not looking to fill and we're talking
We
consolidation.
needed to reappoint just so we have a quorum.
Okay, understood. All right.
He's also the secretary.
But now we're in a pretty busy cycle with both of the commissions, so it's going to be difficult to find that time. But we have extended.
Any other questions? All right, I will entertain a motion to reappoint Ken Swanson to a 3-year term on the Plan Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Present.
Ms. Klein.
Aye.
Mr. Cole.
Aye.
Mr. Gajeki.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1.
Mayor, we would ask for a motion to approve the second payment of $6,963.30 to Stark and Sons Trenching, Inc. for the work on Highland Avenue Stormwater Project. Total contract is $83,935. In your packet, you have all the lien waivers and a summary of the progress payment to date. There's still a balance of $28,839 due, and a 10% retainage will be held until the spring, so we see that all the plantings are properly completed.
Why is the payout so little?
That's the amount they requested in this payment. Tim, I don't know if you can answer the further question, why they haven't billed us for any further of it anymore.
This, excuse me, yeah, this was the request they submitted. They submit them on a regular schedule. So this was what was done since their previous one to when they submitted this one. There are some, I'm sorry. I was just going to say there are some items in the contract that weren't used. There are some items that were changed based on field conditions, so there will be a change order coming before the board that is going to reduce the total value of the contract. I'm not sure exactly what that amount is, but that will be coming forward probably after we have a chance to look at things in the spring.
Any further questions? All right, then I will entertain a motion to approve the second payment to Stark and Sons Trenching, Inc. in the amount of $6,963.30.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Mr. Reed,
Aye.
Mr. Gajeki,
Aye.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Ms. Klein, Mr. Kelly. Motion passes.
Mayor, we would ask for a motion to approve an engagement with Lauterbach and Amen LLP for fiscal year 2020 audit services for $26,700. You have the quotation from LNA in your packet, as well as an agenda supplement from Ms. Lyons. So, Laura, if you want to add some comments.
We're asking for your approval of, I guess, I'll entertain any questions that you have about this.
Has this gone out for RFPs or other services?
It has not.
And Trustee Coe, I did address that. Asked Lori to address that in the agenda supplement. If you look at the last paragraph, we do, given the situation that we've been behind on our audits now for so long, we are making great progress. The auditors, in fact, just finished up today on the 2019 completion, right? What was that presentation? 20?
They have begun field
Yeah,
work.
so they started their field work today on the 2020 audit, which was due in December, but now will be completed by the end of March. But we have now completed the 2018 audit in October, and the 2019 audit is completed, will be uploaded to the comptroller in the next week. So we're making a lot of progress, but given the circumstances, we just felt it was not a good time to switch auditing firms in the middle of this catch-up period. But I am suggesting that we do that for the next audit.
Can I ask why the 218 and the 219 are just being completed?
I think it's fair to say that over the last 7 or 8 years, without a village manager, that Lori's been just overwhelmed really with a lot of catch-up work. As I reported here before, we really haven't provided good financial statements to you since I've been here. But we have a good schedule, which I shared with I think you'll hear a little bit about it in the finance committee report tonight. Budget schedule for this year, as well as this financial reporting schedule for the entire year. So I think we'll be in pretty good shape within the next 2 or 3 months. But it's been a real chore to catch up after some years.
Or Lori, when you get the information to the auditor, when you've collected everything you need and they start doing the investigation and they go through the audit, are they, like, there is nothing on their side that causes delays? They are on time, they meet deadlines, they do everything they need to do. You have zero concerns about this audit company?
I don't have any concerns about them.
I would add the same, because I've been pushing really hard on these audits for 14 months now, and they've really been responsive.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, then I will entertain a motion to approve the contract with Lauterbach and Amen for the 2020 audit, amount of $26,700.
Yes, may I just ask a verification, whether it's from Mr. Schuster or Jay, because it is over the 25K, since this is considered a professional service, we don't have to legally go out to bid, correct?
That's my understanding, but if you want to ask,
I know we can pass a motion to decide not to go out to bid, but I don't know if we have to.
yes, I think the 25 limit is my authority without the board approval. But I don't believe that there's a statutory limit. The board has the authority to do this without, just like we did recently for professional services for EEL.
Well, that's what I'm asking, if this was considered under that professional service umbrella.
That's my opinion, but if you want to ask Mark, that'd be all right.
No, I'm good. That's what. I just want to make sure we don't. Make the-
Any further questions, comments? First, Tim?
No? No.
What?
Should we go,
What are we doing?
we don't have a first and a second on the
Oh, I
motion.
made a motion.
No, we first and seconded it.
Oh. So what are we doing?
I make your motion?
I'm looking for a
Thank
first and a
you.
second. Okay, I'll second.
Okay.
Any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Mr. Grzecki,
Aye.
Mr. Reed,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Klein.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Well, the next thing on the agenda, as you recall at the last board meeting, there were some questions about the intersection improvement at State and 72. And some of the members on the board were not around when this was discussed several years ago, so we asked Tim Paulson of EEI to make a presentation tonight. So Tim will make that presentation. I want to emphasize that EEI emphasize that EEI has prepared this for us at no charge to the village, so there's no cost for preparing this presentation or presenting tonight. So Tim?
All right, give me a moment here to share the screen. Hopefully you can see the presentation now.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so this is just a quick run through of what's involved with the Route 72 and State Street improvements, the project that IDOT is undertaking and the village is participating in. So I'll just quickly go over the timeline. To date, I'll look at what the project improvements will be, and then the project schedule moving forward, and then talk a little bit about the village costs. And then I'll take any questions at any time during the presentation as well. So the rough timeline, it was initiated in around 2013, maybe a little before, but there were meetings with the village and property owners in 2013. Then IDOT did some of their design work. They did their hydraulic study. Then on behalf of the village, we did a drainage review of their hydraulic study for the culvert replacements in 2016. Also in 2016, that's when the village signed the letter of intent to participate in the project. And then quite a bit of time passed, and in April, IDOT sent the village the preliminary plans, which we reviewed with Public Works and village staff. And then in July, submitted a utility improvement request for the sanitary and water main improvements that we discussed in December. And then also we got the pre-final plans from IDOT in August. And then in December, we got a response from IDOT on the utility request that they would include the village utilities within the project. And then we had to provide them the design engineering to include in their plan set package. And that's the part we talked about last month. So I'm going to spend most of tonight going over the other improvements besides the village improvements that we already talked about. So I broke it into 3 categories: the drainage improvements, which is the culvert replacements, some of the intersection improvements, the traffic signal, crosswalks, and the emergency vehicle preemption system, and then some other related improvements, the shared use path and sidewalk, the roadway lighting, and the village utilities. Excuse me. The drainage improvements, which is one of the primary motivating factors behind this project because of the frequency of flooding at that intersection. So they're replacing the culverts along the Hampshire Creek tributary. There's 3 existing culverts. They're going to replace it with 2 culverts. There'll be, instead of the single culverts, there'll be 3 large box culverts side by side at the 2 locations. And these culverts are sized to pass the 50-year flow event within the culvert, and also so that the roadway does not overtop and up to the 100-year event. Currently, based on the hydraulic study, in events less than the 10-year event, that roadway intersection will exceed the capacity of the existing culverts and overtop the roadway. So the 10, 50, 100, and 500 year base flood elevations don't change either up or downstream. There is a change into how the water, is transferred through the intersection. So now in a 10-year event, you'd have water going over the intersection to the downstream channel. Now everything up to the 100-year event will go through the culvert. And you won't see the overtopping of the road into the downstream channel until you have events higher than the 100-year event. And so what that means is, the downstream channel is seeing the same water. It's just coming for much larger events. It'll be coming through the culvert than in the existing condition. This is the page from the engineering plans from IDOT. Excuse me. Shows the proposed new culverts. There's the replacement culvert across State Street, and then there's a second culvert that will go under both the driveway entrance to the Chicken Dip and State Street to the existing channel. For the intersection improvements, there's the traffic signal. They're going to replace the current temporary signals with the permanent mast arm signals. For turn lanes, it'll be basically the same as it is now. The geometry is very similar to existing. There'll be the left turn lanes on each leg of the intersection. There's minimal widening, some adjustment to the curb radiuses. The intersection is being raised to accommodate the culverts, but the lane geometry is very similar to the existing condition. But they will be adding crosswalks on the south and east legs of the intersection. And then they'll also be adding the emergency vehicle preemption system, which the fire protection district is participating in. This is an exhibit from the IDOT's engineering plans as well for the intersection. A couple things to note from what I just talked about, as well as some of the improvements I'll discuss on the next page. Is there's a crosswalk on the south side of the street for the 10-foot shared use path that's going to be on the south side of the Route 72. There'll be a crosswalk then going north to a new sidewalk on the east side of State Street. So some of the related improvements, as I mentioned, the new shared use path will be on the south side of Route 72. It'll come from the existing sidewalk at Schmidt to the southeast corner of the intersection. And then the new sidewalk will be on the north side of 72 on the east side of State Street. We'll go from the intersection up to the existing sidewalk to provide that connectivity between the walking paths in the village. Roadway lighting, they'll be doing lighting improvements to bring the intersection up to current standards. I believe said there's existing in the vicinity four lights. They'll be removing 3 of them, adding 11. So the new intersection will have 11 light poles in the intersection and the approaches to the intersection. And then also the village utilities, the water main and sanitary sewer that we talked about in December. This last exhibit from the plans that I have shows the proposed lighting plan. This symbol, if you can see my cursor, is the light pole and light fixture standard. So whereas I believe there's existing 2 at the intersection and 1 on the east and 1 on the west, there will now be lighting on all 4 legs of the intersection and additional lighting at the intersection to bring it into standard with current in current IDOT requirements for intersection lighting. So shortly before the last board meeting, after I'd prepared the board meeting packet information, nope, I forgot about the project schedule. I was moving into costs. So there will be an intergovernmental agreement between IDOT, the village, and including the fire protection district. And that's to be determined. We're expecting it soon. They're working on it. They should be getting a draft to the village soon. Then they're targeting a project letting, which is when they'll take it out to bid in June of 2021. The project award then would be August, September of 2021, with construction targeted in the fall of 21. This is the cost table, the draft cost table for the intergovernmental agreement that they provided in December. They've updated the cost from the costs that were in the letter of intent from 2016 for some of the roadway intersection improvements, the paths, the traffic signal, and the lighting. And they added a line item for construction engineering. And then the other change from what I had in my packet to you in December is that for the village utility items, they added a construction engineering line item.
This is not included.
Tim, do you have the spreadsheet I sent you earlier this afternoon?
Yes. So then, as Jay mentioned, he sent a spreadsheet over this afternoon to highlight, to try to split it out and highlight a little better what the shared costs are. So I don't know, Jay, if you want to say anything about this, but you can see Jay arranged it and highlighted it so you can see, more clearly the village costs, the federal costs, and the state costs, and the fire protection district costs for the items that are in the intergovernmental agreement.
It's a little hard to read up there. Can you enlarge it a little bit?
Let me see here. I think if I open up the
I can summarize it for you just briefly. That's fine, Tim. I'll just work on that.
Thank you.
And what you have in your packet is the other chart that did not, it's the same numbers that Tim showed on the previous. Pardon me?
There's nothing. That's
No,
fine.
that was not in there.
Yeah, you're right. So
it was attached to the meeting, I think, Jay, the meeting notice.
yes, I did send it out a little later in the evening, but in any event, this one summarizes a little better than the previous chart, the share and the three different entities that are paying. You have on the left side in gray is federal funding, which totals for it. Let me summarize that. If you could scroll up a little bit, yeah, to the top, there we go. So federal funding for the intersection improvements. The key thing here is this subtotal is the intersection improvements, and then at the bottom are the infrastructure improvements that the village is choosing to do. They are not required, but while the intersection is part up, it's our recommendation that we do that. So in this summary for just the intersection improvements, there are federal funds of $443,000. The yellow number, excuse me, the white is state funding, which is $50,000 for that portion, and then the village is $212,000 is our share, and then the $7,000 from the fire protection district. Then if you'll scroll down a little bit, please, Tim. At the bottom is the subtotal for village utilities, and you'll see that the federal government is not paying any of that. The state government, IDOT, is paying almost $200,000 for our utilities, and that was not part of the original agreement. We asked for that. As I said to Tim, there's no harm in asking, and when we did ask, they came back and agreed to pay for these two portions, primarily because they're actually in the right of way. So given the fact that they're in an IDOT right of way, they agreed to pay for those two pieces, about $200,000. Then the village share of the infrastructure itself is just $324,000. And Tim can speak to that a little bit more if you'd like him to. So the village total share is $537,000. The total project cost is $1.187 million. So it's a pretty big project and it's a long time coming. Again, we spoke about this at the last meeting. I think it's important that while we have, just as we did with streetscape, while we're tearing up streetscape, we're replacing the infrastructure downtown. And we have a number of really aging and old infrastructure at the intersection, as well as infrastructure that's interfering with the actual path of the road. And that are too close right now for the spacing that's required today. So some of these lines are 50, 60 years old.
I have a question. We talked briefly at the last meeting about looking into the cost of getting at least power to Hentech Park. Is that included in any of this?
No, I'll be honest, I completely forgot about it. I have to look into that. My mistake.
Unless with that improvement that we're doing, if this board fails to put some kind of a computerized bulletin board down there of some kind, shame on this. That's all I'm gonna say. And that 72 is a lifeline in this town. If we can't pull off putting a computerized bulletin board down there, then we fail.
Just because I did start that conversation, I checked in with Jeannie Mayer at the chamber to see what her original plans were. Her current sign is coming down. And so I told her the village was interested in seeing the sign there, and was the chamber planning to do that. And Jeannie was going to go back and look at her design. It's been a long time since she looked at that, but she does have some preliminary plans for that. So we'll be getting back to you.
Although I don't want to partner with the chamber, but is it the chamber that should be putting that sign up, or should it be the village, so that we have a little bit more ownership of what messages go on there,
Yeah.
the timing of messages?
That's
Then we have nothing.
the only reason I asked Jeannie is because the sign is currently up there, does belong to the chamber.
That's why I'm asking you, if it's a new sign and it's the digital lit, which I agree with trustee Coth on, we're spending $500,000 on the project anyway, that needs to happen.
I think we put the sign up, and then if the chamber wants to use it for their event, they can rent it from us, because right now they utilize that sign and charge their membership.
No one's gonna go down there and put letters on
No,
that
I'm not,
sign.
no.
They're all gonna sit on
I
a computer
understand.
or
I
laptop.
understand that, but what I'm getting at is that right now, the chamber uses that as a rental tool for their chamber members only. So if we have anything that we need to put up there and in rapid fashion, we need to wait for their chamber memberships agreement to be over before they go and post it. There's a lot of uses for it, so I'm.
Which is how that should be when it's their sign, that's what I'm saying. It should be a village sign so that we can have a little bit more control over that.
That would.
I do have one question. If you scroll up, or I can see it on this one. What is HMA? 8 and 10 foot wide HMA shared use path.
That makes asphalt.
Right, correct.
Sidewalk.
Oh, sorry.
Is that construction speak for sidewalk?
Huh?
No, sidewalk is concrete and the path is asphalt. Yeah.
Asphalt is bituminous concrete.
Right. So where would those go?
Let me scroll or see if I can.
Where's the shared on the south side from Marathon,
Right.
Anchorage Drive?
South side of 72.
Yeah.
So
It's
this
on this.
exhibit, see at the intersection, the south side of 72, and then it goes all the way across the gas station site to Schmidt.
Okay, so we're not considering that a sidewalk. It's a shared use path.
Right, and it's 10 feet wide versus the sidewalk, which is the 5 foot wide.
It'll be part of trustee Krajewski's field and trails.
That's why I gave him my fist bump when he talked about it.
That's the reason why I'm asking. If I need to improve the sidewalk in front of my home, I'm responsible for part of that fee and the village will reimburse for part. The village doesn't take 100% ownership of fixing sidewalks. Is this 100% village responsibility if something were to happen to it that we go in and fix?
I believe
Or
that's,
is it a shared cost with the owners of those developments and businesses?
Tim, I can't see, is that part of the IDOT right away?
Yes, it will be within the IDOT right away.
So it's the states, they own it.
No. Not on the
It
village.
contributed to the village.
Tim, will the state maintain that or will that be up to the village?
I can confirm that, but I believe the state would maintain everything that's in in there right away, but I'd have to check the agreement for sure.
They won't, we have to maintain it, but it's theirs.
So along with this, the path here that we're discussing, I believe there is a sign that is owned by the bank that goes right in the middle of that path. Is that going to be an issue?
I'd have to check the plans. I mean, this is just one sheet, doesn't show that, but they have, the demolition plan and.
Okay. Because you said it goes all the way down to Schmidt. So
yes. And
there's a sign right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's
The sign was it's already moved back from its original location. I don't think it's currently a conflict, and if it is, it would have to be moved.
If it's in IDOT's right away, obviously, it's.
I think it was
can do what they want.
originally right away, and then 2 or 3 years after, it was relocated further from the intersection and closer to the parking lot.
I also I know this is trivial here because with the scope of the project, but you mentioned that there are going to be crosswalks at the south and eastern legs of this project. Why not one at the northern or the western to make it full access to all corners from some point?
Because there's no sidewalk or path on the the northwest quadrant.
Okay, just
So-
curious because there is a business there, so we would just curious. Thanks.
Well, there are also homes north of that business that if we're saying they need to cross at a path, they'd have to go all the way down where the school crosses and then come back down rather than walk down their side of the road and the grass. There's no way to get from that west side to the east side unless you go back towards downtown or you just cut across State Street without a sidewalk for all of those homes. So I think it's a good question.
So the reason that IDOT included this in the project is, one of their goals is to provide connectivity for, pedestrians and bicycles, et cetera. So because this provides a connection to two, existing sidewalk points in the village, that's why it's included in the project in this manner, as I understand.
No, we're building 2 new sidewalks that are the connections. The shared use path doesn't exist and the sidewalk on the northeast side doesn't exist.
Right, but it starts at an existing sidewalk and ends at an existing sidewalk.
There's the sidewalk dumps into the north side of the culvert in front of the chicken coop.
Right.
So the new sidewalk is from the culvert down to 72. That's new, but it technically would connect to the sidewalk to the north.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't show on this exhibit, but the sidewalk goes north of the entrance.
It doesn't go straight across the culvert. Currently, it curves into the parking lot. Then you'd have to.
That's where it ends.
Entryway, yeah. So it's not a complete, unless you're gonna bring that sidewalk across the culvert now, straight across.
Well, there is, it doesn't show on this exhibit that I included here, but because it just shows the intersection, but it does extend north of the entrance to connect to the existing sidewalk.
Okay.
And
I don't know if this is the time. I would really like to see a crosswalk at either the northern portion or the western portion. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to voice that concern though.
Well, the west side's a BP Amico. There's no sidewalk on that side, so the state would accept a tremendous amount of liability if they were to try and connect anything on that BP Amico side.
Right, but you could put just a slab there and call it a sidewalk so you could have a safe crossing.
That would be in the actual driveway piece that they're pulling into fuel now.
No, they have a grass, I don't know what you want to call it, a little grass island there at that corner.
Yeah. But I don't think, my recollection, it did not meet IDOT standards for setback. It would be literally right on the State Street roadway or the 72. That median might be 3 or 4 feet wide. You couldn't put a sidewalk without acquiring property from Mr. Peterson. I think that was my recollection of why there is not one on the west side. And the same with why it doesn't go across on the north side. There's just not enough room.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now on the internet. Yeah, there is some grass, but it's not very much. It's very.
No, I am too. I'm looking at it too. I'm just trying, I would like my point to be
agreed.
taken that I would really like a crosswalk at one of those spaces for a safe crossing from the gas station, either over to Chicken Dip or the gas station down to the south side.
There's sidewalk there across the street at the Marathon, and that's where the kids are always running across from the school, so I don't disagree with trustee Robinson. I know it might be tight or something, but that's where the kids run across, is in between the Marathon and the BP every day after school. And so as long as we're doing this, it doesn't make sense that we don't even at least investigate the possibility of doing something.
A crosswalk at minimum. I mean, it doesn't need to connect to a sidewalk, just a crosswalk to promote a safe crossing.
Great.
On that shared use path also, I know we said it's going from Getzelman to Schmidt to connect the neighborhoods. There's already a sidewalk that connects to that neighborhood. It goes straight south on Getzelman and connects into that neighborhood. I know because I've walked it many a time in the summer. Is there a reason why we're gonna spend $42K to build a shared use path along 72 when a sidewalk already exists? Was that like IDOT said we had to have that path go across that way?
I don't think that was something that IDOT said they had to have. I don't recall, I wasn't necessarily involved in that part of the discussion. In 2016, I did the drainage review, but I believe it was part of a larger, village, village plan for trails.
Okay, so it was on our side. It wasn't like an IDOT thing.
Correct.
Is that on the spreadsheet? We're the main payer for that, right? That's not like state funded or federal
I
funded.
think you're talking about the 8 to 10 foot wide. Now that's actually 33,000 federal funded and 8,000 locally funded.
Okay, so it's not a big impact.
Well, only, yeah, $8,400.
Okay,
20%.
gotcha. Okay.
And Tim, out of curiosity, on the second page of your presentation, the dates, you had 2021. I'm assuming you meant 2020, correct? That's small, but I was confused. Yeah, you go project timeline. You meant 20.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I thought that was the case. I just was confused.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Well, that's fine.
I guess I'm the one that's confused, evidently.
That's fine.
Okay. So, but I got the schedule moving forward correct, right? So, all right.
And I would like to echo Trustee Robinson's point about the crosswalks. I mean, if there is a way we can find a way to add those, it would be silly not to. I know that we're pretty far down the path here, but if there was a way, I think we should.
Yeah, be separation from the road to the property. They cannot do it legally.
Trustee Robinson, can you repeat just so I understand? Are you suggesting north and southbound on both sides of the intersection?
No, all I'm suggesting is we should have a crosswalk either on the northern portion from the BP over to the Chicken Dip or from the BP over to the Marathon side on the western portion. So I think it would be more as to what Trustee Reed had stated earlier, the kids cross from the BP to the Marathon. I think it would be more imperative to put the crosswalk on the western side, but I would be good with the crosswalk either way, because then you could have a safe crossing. I mean, you'd have to go the long way if it was on the northern side, but you could still have safe crossing within a crosswalk for pedestrians.
When you say northern side, though, you mean crossing 72 in both cases, on either the east side or the west side of the intersection?
No, when I say north, I mean going from the BP across State Street to the Chicken Dip or vice versa. And when I say west, I mean going from the BP south to the Marathon gas station or vice versa.
Okay, so only one of those crosses 72 and the other crosses State then.
Right.
Correct.
Correct.
I think we understand what you're asking for, and we can approach IDOT on that. I can tell you that the timing is really late, so we'll do our best and we'll report back to you.
Thank you.
They're asking for an intergovernmental agreement probably at our next board meeting,
Right.
so they're pushing pretty hard, but we can find out what the options are.
I believe we asked about that a long time ago, and the problem with going on the west side across, from BP to the Marathon is once you get from the south to the north, you're standing in a median in a parking lot. You can't go north without crossing the entrance to the State Street into BP. So that, I don't think IDOT explained it that there's just not enough room, and they can't convey people across the roadway into no path to go. So there's only about 4 feet of median on the BP side, and if our shared walks are either 5 or 8, there's just not enough room, and it becomes a safety issue. Everybody's so close to the roadway with no place to go.
I understand your point, but I also think it's a safety issue when there's not that crosswalk there, because then, for instance, you have a car traveling south on State Street looking to turn right onto 72, turn west, and they're not paying attention for pedestrians because there is no crosswalk there.
This is what comes from IDOT. I would love to have.
No, I understand. I understand it comes from IDOT. I'm not saying that it's to you. I'm just saying that's my feeling on it, and I think it doesn't hurt to ask.
We can ask again.
And state our case to IDOT of why we think there should be one there.
Trustee Klein, the new, on 72, the new, I don't want to use this word strip mall, but the new shopping center that's going in, is it on, like, between Casey's and State, or is it on the other side of Heartland Bank? Where exactly is that going?
The proposed building is between Casey's and State Street.
Okay, so if that's where it goes, and we're doing the 72, is there gonna be a sidewalk in front of that as well on that side that would connect Warner to State?
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, there, on the plans that I have, there is a sidewalk. The sidewalk right now comes down Warner and it ends at 72. So I'm assuming they would just tie into that and go west.
Because the strip mall and Casey's are gonna share a driveway.
Yeah, that's what they like. Did they get that approved?
He
Maybe
got the approval.
Did he?
he has the approval.
He does, okay.
He hasn't approved Casey's to use it yet.
That's right, 'cause he wants Casey's to chip in, right?
Casey's to pay.
Right.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering how that, like, that future development is taken into consideration with these 72 improvements that are going across. Because there would also then, you would have a sidewalk that dead ends in front of that area, and there'd be no sidewalk in front of the psychic reader or over the chicken dip on the northeast side, which is where the 2 crosswalks are.
He'd be just responsible for his sidewalk.
Right, so we're building a new sidewalk. I'm gonna walk up there, so.
Yeah.
We're gonna build a new sidewalk here, right?
Yeah.
That connects that area.
Yeah.
If there's gonna be a sidewalk that ends like here,
Uh-huh.
there's no sidewalk that's gonna be on this side, but you're gonna have all of that community coming down this sidewalk. Why wouldn't we have one here as well if we're doing it all at once?
Well, we'd have to hit up chicken dip and the psychic reader.
Well,
Could put sidewalk.
how are we doing this without chicken dip?
No, there should be right away, right?
IDOT's paying for it.
So well, I don't care who's paying for it if it's their property. I'm not saying who should pay for it. What I'm saying is, wouldn't that still be a right of way along, well, State Street's not a right of way for the state, 72 is.
State actually did negotiate some easements on State Street, on the east side of State Street as part of this project.
With the chicken.
Those are only
I can't-
temporary construction.
Chicken dip and also the house to the north of Chicken Dip.
Right, so wouldn't it make sense though, if we're doing this once, we would do that sidewalk on the bottom part that connects to this new subdivision that we're having, or it just seems like this is something that's been in the plan for a while, but things have changed, and if you have a new development, wouldn't we want to future-proof that, rather than having to go back and try to redo it again?
I just don't know that it's time to do that at this point, trustee Kelly. They brought this to us in April. There've been negotiations going on really all summer. And, as I said, we can ask, but it's very late in the game. This is supposed to break ground, supposed to bid in July and break ground in September.
How far back does the construction go? It doesn't go up to the Red Ox. Does it, Tim? Oh, he would know where the Red Ox.
Yeah, I don't have that exhibit.
How far,
Just past the entrance to the chicken dip and,
Yeah, it doesn't go too much farther, I don't believe.
so that's not even in their realm of construction. It's outside of their scope of work. If it ends at the chicken dip,
What ends it?
the construction. You want to try and get IDOT?
They're doing construction all the way to Schmidt Drive.
I understand,
Go to the east.
but going to the east,
I get
it
that.
dead ends at chicken dip's driveway,
The only construction they're doing all the way to Schmidt is the sidewalk.
right?
So there's not IDOT construction going all the way down that way, but they're putting the sidewalk all the way down. that
They're
way.
putting the sidewalk, they're putting the sidewalk because they legally have to have a connected sidewalk.
There's already one there.
Well, they're not gonna rip out the sidewalk, put in blacktop. It will be, go up to the concrete.
This year, we're gonna come a year from now back to this and say, now we need
Ask them,
for money for another.
quickly ask them, the quicker
To
they
connect
connect
it, right?
your
Right.
Connected sidewalk.
Is there no sidewalk currently on this, from Schmidt Drive to
It's-
70, from
In
State
front of
Street?
Marathon? No,
There is a sidewalk that goes down, gets them into the neighborhood.
there is, but there's not one
Yes,
that
but
goes
yeah.
along 72.
But across, from State across to Schmidt,
Correct, there's not one
No.
currently, that's what I'm saying, we're doing all of that.
right?
It would make sense that we do that to the other kitty corner side if it's for the same reason.
Well, we could ask, I mean, we'll ask about the intersection and the sidewalk.
And the power.
And the electricity to the corner. For signage.
Wasn't, there was power there,
There's not power in that.
not impact, the sign,
Yeah,
And the sign's going away,
yeah, but
but
that,
there's power there.
right.
but we're on the other corner.
We're just talking about running the power across, well, it's cut up so that it's in.
Oh,
impact.
okay,
So
So
that the
that's where
digital
you
sign
want-
can go there.
The
your
sign.
digital sign,
Yeah.
south side,
Right.
We can do other things in Henpeck Park that would.
'Cause it's
require
ours.
power.
Correct.
got it.
So we'll check with IDOT, but you'll notice that there are lights on the south side of 70.
The chicken dip doesn't like it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah,
I'm saying there, I've gone back to the lighting plan on the presentation. So there are lights on the south side of 72. I'll check the electrical plan. We'll talk to IDOT, but they are bringing electricity for these new lights. We're talking about the southeast corner.
72.
Yes.
yes, light up the intersection.
If you look at, and there does look like there is
So we should be able to steal some power off one of those,
lights, yeah.
Borrow.
yeah,
Well,
borrow.
we're paying the bill on the lights anyway.
Yeah, and I wasn't
Correct.
discussed, but I have to think that lighting was the choice of the village, because I was just recently asked if we wanted to have additional highway lighting at the intersection of 20 and Big Timber. And we said no, because we didn't want to pay for it. So I presume that this lighting was the village's request 6-7 years ago. Because we're paying for it.
I don't remember that many lights.
Because it says there's like 12.
It's small.
11.
Well, no, it says, he said 11, but they said 12 on the document.
Yeah, they're leaving one existing light down here in the south end of Getzelman. So there's going to be a total of 12 where there's 4 now. They would only agree to do it if we brought it up to their current standard. So when the village wanted to update the lights, then they had to agree to bring it up to the IDOT standard.
We will look into all these questions. I am a little unclear on the sidewalk down the way. I have a picture up here. Are you speaking about a sidewalk here, trustee Kelly?
No,
Yes.
other side.
Yes.
Oh, but right
Yes,
now,
are,
yes.
yes.
The one that would go to the new division, yes, that's the side I was talking about.
Cross check down to where the new.
No, and it would go in front of those homes there,
Oh,
where, yeah, where Josh's finger is, that's where that new strip mall would go. So it's not
all the
that
way from
long.
the intersection all the way down.
Uh-huh.
Right. It would be shorter than what's being built between Gesselman and Schmidt, but it would be longer than that little piece that's going down State Street. It's past anyway, so I want to make sure that.
All right, we got clear, Mr. Hedges?
I'll build something that helps fix it later.
Any questions for Tim?
Yep, I've got one last question out of curiosity, since we talked so much about crosswalks. But on the light stanchions, do we have a crosswalk light with a countdown or the traditional figure that says walk, don't walk, the red hand and the white walker guy? Is that included in the stanchion? I didn't see an image of the stanchion.
I could send that to you. It's buried in the IDOT plans. It's not in the presentation, but there is, I don't know the details of it, but they do have the pedestrian signals.
Cool. Good. Awesome.
The guy with the field and trail shirt.
Hey, I was just making, I was hoping I didn't lose my trail. That was all I was worried about. So.
All right, anything else for Tim? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Other than this one here, we have a report, building department report in your packet that Josh Ray would like to present. Josh has done a great job working with Safe Built, and going to start to see some reports periodically, and one of them tonight. So yeah.
Yes, I'm going to take my mask off. So you can all hear me well. So this report has sort of two parts. The first is a brief overview of the transition that has occurred from BNF to Safe Built now. And then there's just a few notes about what I would consider a regular monthly report. I want to make just a couple of comments about the transition. First, I'll show this chart. There was really a backlog in the summer with BNF of not getting permits issued out as they switched over personnel to the village. And that's pretty evident in this chart. There was a pretty, fairly steady amount of new home permits that are being applied for Prairie Ridge. And in August, the number issued just dropped down dramatically. When Safe Built took over in September, they took on all of that work. They've been doing all the inspections for it, and they turned that situation around very quickly. On other positive notes, the community core system that we showed you, I believe, 2 or 3 board meetings ago, has been launched. People can pay from that. People can view the progress of their permits, where it's at in the building, in the review process from their account. We don't have to have any more interpersonal interactions at Village Hall anymore. If people don't want to, they can apply for their permit online, review the progress online, pay online. We email them their permit. So it cuts down on staff time here dealing with all of those situations. And furthermore, there is a lot of reporting mechanisms through Community Core, where I got my information tonight. It took me about 20 minutes to get all this information, where out of MSI and the previous reports would take me hours. So it's really a good tool that's being used well by our residents, contractors, and staff. I want to make a quick mention about the level of service that Safe Built's been providing. We got a very kind note from our contact, Patrick from Ryan Homes. He just sent us an email about a week ago to the Safe Built team and to the village, really complimenting the inspectors, their professionalism, their level of expertise. And it was just good to hear that this transition has been working from their perspective. Are there any questions about the transition or the first chart? Okay.
I'm sorry, Jess. The people online can't see the chart. Is there a way to?
It is in your packet, but I will share my screen.
I guess I could look at it in my packet. My fault. My fault.
I meant to share my screen. Thank you for reminding me. So this is the first chart that I spoke of.
Yeah.
So then, aside from that, the next chart is just regular reporting numbers. This is all from 2020, and I will continue to report these numbers to you. As you can see, the summer months, as expected, received the most permits. Nothing too special to report other than the 2 status updates I gave you about the large commercial projects that are currently in the permitting process and inspection process. If you have any other questions, I will, of course, do my best to answer.
So BNF is still doing the ones that were started before?
Yeah, the very few that are left, I should have checked that. I don't think there might not be any left. But any of the sheds, windows,
Oh, you're the one.
Here's,
Which one is it?
For my own house,
Oh, really? For your,
for my front porch.
have you been waiting for inspection?
It got too cold and I couldn't.
Oh, so you haven't completed it? Okay.
They want me to put a whole new walkway in.
Well,
Not
that's,
right now.
actually, we can, I thought the residential
Sidewalk?
was going to transition.
To the porch?
Well, now it does because BNF is officially done with their 60 days. So yeah, everything from now on will be going to Safe Fill. BNF doesn't service us anymore. So any prior permits from BNF will now be inspected by Safe Fill. And then all the new permits, since we transitioned, have been going to Safe Fill.
I'll have Jerry get in touch with you about that. He's the, he manages the inspections out of Jerry Nelson.
Okay.
Any other questions?
The only other projects that they were handling were all the large projects, and pretty much all the inspections were completed, just waiting for final occupancy. Now, that's just a matter of lien waivers and all that. And so they're basically finished. That's all I have tonight, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. BDC.
Okay, so BDC had our meeting last Wednesday, as usual. It was a fantastic meeting. It went really well. We discussed several new concepts. As I think I'd mentioned to you guys before, we felt like we had kind of wound down a lot of things that we had set out to accomplish, and so we were looking for some new projects to work on. And so one of the ones that I thought we talked quite a bit about in coordination with Jeannie Meyer from the Chamber is the development of an ambassador program where we connect with our local managers or CEOs or owners of our local businesses to hear feedback from them and to give them a chance to communicate with us. For a wide variety of different reasons, whether it is just giving us feedback on how we're performing, specifically through permitting processes, and also, as one example amongst many, as well as perhaps getting input from them on things that they think that we could be, maybe doing in a larger scale, maybe future development. But just sort of trying to connect with our businesses a little bit more. That's being head up by Karen Traska. Karen Traska is the daughter and is a major contributor to the organization at Stanley Machine. She's the daughter of the owner. So she's going to be heading that up, and her and Jeannie Mayer will be working together and presenting to us next meeting as to the next steps on that. The other thing is we are taking a look at hopefully trying to give more guidance or give our opinion, I guess, to the board regarding future commercial land development. Dave Pizzolato, who is an original member of Business Development Commission, is going to be heading that up. But as a task, all of us will be reviewing the comprehensive plan from 2004, edited and modified in 2006. And maybe presenting some of our perspectives on that in the next meeting. So all members have been tasked with reviewing that and coming prepared to discuss that. And then we also we talked about adding the new, for those of you guys who don't know that, but know this, the Stitching on State building and business have been sold to someone who plans on keeping the business as is, which is really a big win for the village, as Stitching on State is one of our destination locations. People come from all over the area to visit. So we're very excited about that. We have scheduled to do a Hampshire's very own article on them in March. So that's very exciting as well. And that is about it. That's what we accomplished in business development at this time. So.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, you got it.
Finance has a couple items tonight.
Finance does have a couple items tonight. Accounts payable. No reimbursements tonight. Imagine that. So you see our regular accounts payable, $151,797.17. To be paid on or before January 27th, 2021. Question. Toby, you have a question?
No questions.
Anyone have a question?
Yes. All of the line items for website hosting,
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. So,
invoice dates from 2019.
yeah, so when the company doesn't send you the bill, you can't pay the bill. And when they go from a manual system to an automated system, and then they realize, there's some months that are missing. And then we go back and we say, there are months that are missing. And so
They never billed us?
no, they had
Intermittently billed us.
it was like, because we checked and we thought, oh no, is our email, like the address that they gave us, or that we gave them, and are they not emailing it right or whatever? And so there was a couple of months where we went back and they said, oh, well, we sent it to the wrong email address. I was like, well, it's nice that from 2015, I think was the earliest one.
So this is for Hampshire IL.
This is our monthly service charge for
Or just our website.
just our website.
We pay $247 a month to host a website.
Yeah, it's 150 bucks.
January 6th, 2021, $247.
If we call or make changes like we have done, as an example, we add things to the footer, we had things, we did some training for Josh, and we made some other ancillary changes and stuff outside of what we do on a regular basis as far as maintenance, and we get both. So the regular hosting fee is 150 bucks, and then there's anything on top of that is extra.
On top of that, they do our website changes.
No. There's website changes that we do, adding pages, adding minutes, adding different things, but there's sometimes the things that you have to do that are outside of the scope that you do. So like you're actually messing with the CMS or custom stuff. As an example, we added something for the police department. Offender watch is what it's called, so that you can search for sex offenders and that kind of stuff in the neighborhood. Well, as part of that program, they recommended that we put a button in the footer for us, and it's a custom footer, so they had to make that change. That's not something we would. So we got billed for the hourly time for that, and then I think that there's some changes that Jay and Josh are making for overall look and feel.
Yeah, I just authorized $240 to, if you notice on the top of our page, all the buttons at the top, they only click on the bottom half. It's really confusing for people that are new to the site. So we put together a list of 4 or 5 changes that we wanted to make. They're part of the platform itself that we're not able to do.
The platform is just what, like that? Let's get geeky. It's a Drupal CMS,
It's their own proprietary CMS.
so it's a crap one.
No, it's actually not that bad. I
I mean, it's
mean,
not like WordPress or something that's out there.
correct. And the reason for that is because they maintain the database and the backups and all that other stuff, and there's a phone number to call.
And then I get, but just so the board knows, I get that same level of service for other websites that I help with for $9 a month from GoDaddy.
Right, but the,
Full backup, full security, you can get a dedicated server. We're getting screwed on a hosting fee, and I would highly recommend that we reach.
so I only disagree with you for the fact that there's a lot to it for FOIA purposes and the agenda management and the meeting minutes management.
The backup is still a big, I mean, we can talk outside of this about, I get the technology that goes into it. 150 a month is ridiculous, number one. And that they charge us for things that you should be able to do, like change a footer in a CMS is ridiculous. So I would just ask in the future, I know we've got a lot on our plates right now, that we rethink or at least bring it back to the table about what this is, especially with the discussion we're gonna have later tonight about a rebranding. Right? That it may be time to rethink what is that website backend, because that's a lot of money for hosting and changes. On when there's available technology out there to really empower people to own it themselves.
Good.
Any other questions?
Glad we caught up from 2 years ago.
I can't believe that they didn't.
Is there any statute of limitation? Like,
That's
they
what I
didn't
was
tell
wondering.
us.
So I think they actually did bill us for more than this, and we only,
Well, I know that they did.
yeah, they agreed to not collect some of the even older bills.
Because there's
So,
no 2015 on here.
Okay, so some of the stuff that we saw in the very beginning was from 2015, and it's like, dude, if you're not gonna send us the bill, how? are we-
6 years later?
Yeah, you
No.
know, it's
I mean,
like-
check, you can't cash after 6 months.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Can you make a motion?
Is,
Sure.
is the helmets on page 12 for strikers, is that for the police department?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now can you make a motion?
Sure. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $151,797.17.
Second,
Any questions or comments? Oh, wait.
Ms. Klein,
Aye.
Mr. Coth,
Aye.
Mr. Grzecki,
Aye.
Mr. Reed,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
And everyone get excited. It's time to start the budget again. So in your packet, there was a budget calendar that you all can see. So staff is going to start their meetings and everything with department heads and start to put together the preliminary work. Finance committee and board, pay attention to the week of March 1st, because there will be a finance meeting. We'll make it a working session so everyone can come. That's that. Any more comments on that?
nope. Very impressive schedule this year, but working hard.
And thank you, Lori, for all your work in getting us caught up to where we need to be.
Thank you. Not only, I'm very thankful to have Terry on board, so.
Terry,
Our new accounting manager that we added in the new budget back in May.
so we start meeting.
Anything further, Ben?
Nothing further.
I have a question.
All right.
What-
Oh,
If I can,
Aaron does.
Go ahead, Ryan, if you do, and then I'll go to you.
no, I just think we'd be remiss, and I don't think it got stated, so I want to, make sure we state it is, thank you to Jay for asking or suggesting that we ask IDOT for $200,000, because that
Yeah.
certainly is going to make our life a lot easier in the 2021 budget, knowing that we've got that money in there. So I want to make sure to formally recognize that and hope it gets put in the notes.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a lot of money.
A question for finance. When, this must be a year and a half ago, before Jay, you were on board, we had talked about having visibility into fund balances on a quarterly or monthly basis and inflow, not just outflow of funds. Now that it's a new year and it seems like we're getting a little caught up, can we bring that back to the discussion? I find that there was a lot going on in the past, but maybe start thinking through how we could get that back in.
So fund balance will definitely be a part of the budget document.
I meant on a regular meeting.
Yes,
occurrence. We
absolutely.
talked about like quarterly or monthly, and then there was a talk where maybe it's not even in but it's in a shared drive and you just updated it, but.
Yeah.
An MSI report, something that it was like, here's a treasurer's report of our fund balances here's how much money we had in, here's how much we spent, because we vote every week on spending. Or every meeting, not every week. So it'd be great to know inflow as well, right? What's our balances?
Yeah, so trustee Kelly, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, I have thought about that a lot because I know that that's something that we talked about, but I also knew that we were really behind.
That's what I'm saying, I
So,
totally
and I
get it.
knew that they were like playing
Yeah.
catch up and they were doing really good, so I didn't even wanna
Yeah,
bring it up, but yes, I agree. New year, we're getting caught up, yes.
exactly. Now that we have a little bit more time.
Mhm.
I don't want to overstate that, more time, because Lori's schedule is crazy for the next 4 months until we finish the fiscal year budget. So it's going to be a very, very difficult year, even though we're starting on time this year for change, as opposed to last year. We didn't even have our budget hearings until like a week before the board had approved it. So we're starting a lot earlier, but I've also asked for a lot more reporting. So in addition to the budget calendar that you have, I did share with Trustee Klein our financial schedule for the year, and I can share that with the entire board now. I wanted to give it to her first. And that includes when we will have, for example, monthly reports on spending and revenue that I'll be seeing. I haven't seen a financial report since I've been here, Trustee Klein.
Since I was elected here, I couldn't even tell you how much money we have in any account.
Yeah, and
I've never seen it.
We're all kind of
And asked
dragging
for it.
blind, we're all kind of dragging blind here. until we can get
I've asked for it.
We got them last year for the budget when we were doing the meetings. So don't,
But no,
we've never seen
and
one.
I completely get it. I wasn't making a comment that we haven't gotten them. I was just saying now that we've got the audit caught up, and things are catching up.
Never.
I just wanted it to be back in the discussion and for us not to leave it.
I
under the-
will share with you after this meeting, with all of you, the schedule that I shared with Trustee Klein, which is our financial calendar for the entire year, all the due dates, so we don't miss any deadlines, so we're not late for any deadlines. And I can promise you, as long as I'm here, we won't miss another audit deadline for sure. But I do think it will probably be the end of this fiscal year, April 30, before we really have a good handle on our first financial report, our first good financial report in that year. But we will start seeing monthly spending reports versus revenue, and Lori's working on a current year forecast for revenue and spending. Our department heads have all held back on spending really well. We're holding off on 2 headcount, a police department headcount and a streets department headcount. We're holding back on vehicles. As of yesterday, the utilities department was underspent year to date about 85, forecasting that they'll underspend year to date through the end of the year about $85,000 short. Now we'd love to release some of those projects this year still, but we have to know where we stand first.
Yeah.
So we have to, Lori, like as I said, work on a forecast for this year, and we also need to forecast revenue for next year. This league does help us with that, but then we have local revenues as well. And all afternoon today and all morning tomorrow, the ILCMA is we've been participating in an economic forecasting conference, which is the winter conference for ILCMA. So it's a real focus for us. It's I don't know, I keep finding myself frustrated also with the lack of reporting that we have, but you know, I don't have to tell you how much time Lori's put into this to get where we are now.
Yeah, and please don't take it as I'm frustrated. Lori, you provided some of the reports when we first talked about it. It was great. She offered different versions and we were talking through it. But as you said, there's a ton that needed to be done. So I'm not worried about that. I just was bringing it up so we could have the discussion again.
And we will.
Any further, ma'am? Public relations has an item.
So we'll cut right to it. We agreed a few months back that we should enter into a rebranding exercise. We are in the final stages of the first part of it, which is the new logo design. So on the call here, we have Fletch and Lizzie Kreindler and Mr. John Harris from A5. This has been a long process. We started on it right after we approved it, I believe in October. We've involved the different governmental bodies and organizations in town at certain points of this. And so what we present to you tonight is something that we, as a public relations committee, voted unanimously to make a recommendation to the village board. And does anybody have anything to add to that, or should we let Mr. Harris speak?
I think we let Mr. Harris speak, and then afterwards we can provide some of our feedback.
Wonderful, thank you. Jay, do you have access to the controls and the presentation?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that a yes? Okay.
Yes, it's coming just.
All right. No, that's okay. Things have been cutting in and out a little bit for me during this evening's meeting. If for some reason my connection goes unstable, Lizzie Kreindler will pick up the pieces and pick up the ball and start running. So thank you. So we're here to present to you, as Trustee Reed said, the recommended logo, which is part of the brand or rebrand effort. And so we wanted to walk you briefly through the front end of the presentation, i.e. the goals and the process. So go ahead, Jay. And revisiting this is something that we spoke with the board about, and the EDC and the PR committee and other government entities, the chamber, et cetera. But the idea here is to create a clear, concise, consistent, and compelling brand story for the Village of Hampshire, and to create a stronger sense of community, to enable you to attract residents, promote economic development, and encourage visitors. Part of our funding is through a tourism grant for this project. And then once the branding is in place, develop the marketing communications tools to deliver that brand story on a consistent basis. Did it move forward?
Yeah, you're in process.
Can you see it? Can you see it moving forward? I've got my presentation here. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we're
Hey,
on.
So as you could see, listen, think, create, and launch. As mentioned, we met with the PR committee a number of times, the BDC, department heads, community leaders. So we did group meetings, we did one-on-one interviews. We looked at a whole host of other communities and benchmark communities, what they were doing, and read the history of Hampshire and reviewed a lot of the information and materials, including the website. Developed the brand platform, key messages and audiences. I'm going to go briefly through that tonight, including a tagline. And then here we are tonight. And again, our next phase will be to get ready for a launch, to create materials and a launch. From an audience perspective, you've got a lot of different audiences. Your current residents, community organizations, schools, churches, existing Hampshire business owners, and then prospective residents, prospective businesses, visitors, surrounding communities, developers, investors, real estate brokers, et cetera. So from a brand perspective, we're always thinking about each of these audiences. Positioning statement, these are not necessarily the words that you would see or written this way on a website, but it is a table stake from a marketing perspective. So all of your key messages and stories would emanate from this concept. So you can read it there, but if you're looking for a growing community with hometown charm, great schools, friendly neighbors, Hampshire is a wonderful place to live, visit, and locate a business. Blending rural lifestyle with access to the city, Hampshire boasts an I-90 interchange, a pro-business environment, and room to grow. A renewed focus on its traditional historic downtown will create an even stronger sense of community or of place. And when you're in Hampshire, you're in a small town with a big heart. So, okay, good. It's moving ahead now. I'm back to your presentation. So from a tagline perspective, having done this for a number of communities, you want to keep it simple. You want to keep it memorable. It's like your vision and mission. You don't want to write something and have people forget it or have to refer back to a piece of paper. And one of the things that was interesting, and several of you had input in this, including the PR committee heavily and the BDC, but it kept coming up, this idea of opportunity looking forward while being still rooted in the past. So this strong foundation leading to future success. So it's this idea of from to. So honor tradition and embrace opportunity. And it was in a meeting not long ago where it was suggested that we put embrace in front, embrace opportunity, honor tradition. So it feels strong, it feels active, and it feels declarative. Let's do these things, let's go forward, and we're all in this together. And now we're going to show you the recommended graphic identity after the current graphic identity. And I assume you moved ahead, Jay.
Yeah, we did.
Great. My screen froze again. So what you're seeing here is a logo that is clearly an H with the name in script below. And the idea is that it is strong, solid, stable. It feels like it's been around for a while, and yet it's also contemporary, it's clear, it's simple, It's elegant, and it's got energy. It's got momentum. So you see the dimension in the H, which has been simplified from some earlier versions. Some of you may have seen that we're a little bit more complex with more information packed into the H. So it's been stripped down and is just very clear and friendly. And I think the type actually speaks to that too. This idea that Hampshire on a little bit of an angle, and with the two lines, the lines below the H, but above and below the word Hampshire, again, is meant to indicate momentum, and maybe the hint of a rolling hill or a highway or a pathway moving forward. And Jay, if you, again, I can't see your screen because it's froze, but if we were to put it on a field of purple and related to that, the purple, obviously a color that is associated with the community already. So it makes sense to create a stronger community identity by using the color purple, and of course the color white as well. So if it was on a background of purple, this is what we call a knockout or a reversed out version of the logo, and you could see the tagline with it. And then moving forward, we've got some applications here, a couple of sample social media posts. You could see the one on the left would simply be, the logo and graphic. If you look real close at the upper left, this is Facebook, of course, because it's got to get small. Maybe when it gets real small, it gets, really simple, and it's the H on a field of purple in white. And then if you look on the other side, on the right-hand side, you see, again, the white version of the logo on a field of purple and the tagline below, and just a really compelling image. And this is one of your images. On the next page, we have a business card, front and back. The white is the front, and the purple on the back. And a variation on that theme would be, we're going to need some accent colors or some secondary colors. So you might love these colors, or you might, like them, or you might like one and hate two others, and that's okay. We can work through the complementary colors here. But as you can see, there's a good color palette that we could develop that would go along with the purple and the white. And then a sample wayfinding sign is next. Everything is pointing one direction in this case. Again, this is not a real sign, and further exploration would be needed. But you could see, again, it feels fresh, energetic, friendly, contemporary, and it has an element of that tradition and honoring that tradition, while pushing forward and embracing opportunity. So with that, that's what we have to present to you tonight. And this logo and brand identity is, again, where we landed with the PR committee and is the recommendation of the PR committee.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris, and thanks for all the fine work that you and your team have done. Thanks for putting up with us in all our meetings. Trustee Coates, do you have anything to add?
No, I love Mr. Kelly. He's more of the marketing guru than me.
I will let the board know, we went through a lot of different iterations and a lot of different, not just of this, of like completely different concepts. And from even when Trustee Krajewski, you and the BDC, and we all got together and we looked at things, and you probably are seeing something a lot different than even those options. And this is kind of a blend of collaborative discussions, right? We didn't want to lose past promising future, but it felt that it should be more of
Updated
Jay
version.
said, an updated version of, we're easy to do business with, we're growing, we're moving forward. But at our foundation is always that tradition of who we are and where we came from. For a ton, and this is, I think when you see it in this knockout version, as well as the other, this logo was one of the few that also allowed us to have multiple applications that made it easy and recognizable. We did have discussions too around does it need to say village up? Well, our thing was, no, we're Hampshire, it should say Hampshire, and then if the park district wants to use this, you could put park district and script below Hampshire, you could put library below Hampshire, you could put township below Hampshire, right? You could start to build this identity that you may have seen when A5 did their initial presentation for like Charlevoix and how they had the State Street or their ferry district had the main logo, but it said ferry district. And like, if we're looking at the downtown State Street as a entertainment district or something, then you could use this or the chamber could use this. So it seemed the most versatile and, it may look very simple, but that does not reflect the amount of work and effort and thought. So I'll leave it at that. Those are some of the comments that we had. Because the applications you saw were a big discussion point, right? We didn't want to just see, how does it look on a wayfinding sign? What's it look like on social? What's it look like on a business?
And I'll just add that, from a brand development and a municipal branding perspective, simple is important these days for a variety of reasons, but so much of this has to be very small. It has to be very large. It has to be very quick to see, read, and understand and comprehend. And again, it's got to be used in so many different formats. So, again, small and big and digital and analog. So keeping things, I think that was one of the things that a number of people reacted to, is there was another H that we had proposed, and it was just too complex for some people. Thought it was just too complex, and this really strips it down, and you get a sense of energy. And again, playing off that purple and white, you start to build that identity in the community.
You have anything to add?
No,
Before we open it up for discussion? What do you guys think?
Ryan, Eric?
I like it. I mean, compared to all the things that we saw through the two, because BDC went through 2 rounds of it, that is by far the best logo that I saw in there. So I congratulate your team as well as A5. I like it a lot. So much better than the stuff we had started with or we had looked at. So kudos. I like it.
I don't have anything to compare it to, as I'm not on either of those committees that have seen the other ones, but I mean, at first glance, I liked it. It looked nice, straightforward.
Young.
Did you say it looked young?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he said hip and young.
Hip and young.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I know all about that stuff too.
Just like Toby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trustee Fine? You can be honest.
I love the embrace opportunity, hours, love that. I'm not shot in the ass about the other part, but.
Okay.
And I, like Eric, I haven't seen any of the other versions that came down to this, so I'm trusting you guys that.
Well, we looked at everything from logo designs that were extremely similar to what we had to,
I don't like the one we have either, so.
We looked at all the logo designs that E5 did. We looked at all the different villages and municipalities and stuff they did. We started picking a little of this one, a little of that one, put them together, and this just looks the simplest and cleanest.
The challenge we had is there was a couple options that we kind of like that retain that same shape of our current logo. And one of the things that we struggled with as a committee is okay, do we go with something that looks similar? run the risk of, okay, we spent all this money and we got a logo that has a different script and the same shape, then we spent all this money, right? So we kind of decided as a committee that if we were gonna do this, we were gonna try to go big and try to do the most drastic change. The big, the big thing we were trying to do was, incorporate some of the things in town. As an example, like, one of the things that we've always struggled with, if the mayor doesn't like our logo with the stitching on a shirt. That's been a sticking point for all of us, right? So you don't like the current logo in the form with the outline on a shirt, okay? Then at the same time, our colors are like the colors of this desk, right? So gold and maroon, but then we go and paint all our water towers purple and white, and then now our public
Oh,
works.
I agree. We don't have anything that's
Uniform.
cohesive and uniform. And I don't like that, and I'm glad that they didn't say
And
anything
you're
like
right,
that.
there wasn't, we purposely didn't want to come into this with like 5 options. Because what has happened is, and trustee Krajewski and his committee was involved in some of these too. When you have a lot of options, all of a sudden we start picking things we like from each of the options and then say, can we bring this into this one and this into, and that's actually how we got to this. Is that they had presented one option with a script and we were like, and Jay had said, that looks really cool. We all agreed and we said, but can we see that script on this logo? And then can we change like this, the H changed from the busyness to this one because trustee Coe had a great comment. He goes, oh, I didn't know that was an H in there. Because there was such a thin line, it just looked like fields.
Well, and
So the idea was to keep it simple for the recommendation of after, and it wasn't done in a vacuum, right? BDC was involved, the PR committee was involved,
I'm cool.
but absolutely. I will tell
I trust
you,
you.
I will tell you that when I saw this, my wife had walked by the door when we were in a meeting and saw my screen, and I go, I know you saw it, what do you think? And her reaction was yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I hate it.
I don't hate it.
It just doesn't looks as boxy as that.
I don't like
Oh,
it.
it's clear.
Yeah.
It's much clearer than what it is.
And it looks new.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like whatever that.
Right, and to trustee Reed's point, part of the discussion was not just in this logo, but in general was, we needed one that looked good on clothing, on a truck, on a sign, that if you shrunk it down, can you read it all? Because there were some where we had like established in the year and.
Oh, yeah, no.
And then you start losing some of that. And some were super colorful, and we're like, okay, one printing
Even
cost.
like
for
this, I
multi-color.
can't read that.
Right, so a lot of that was taken into consideration on this one.
Okay.
you haven't said anything, Mr. Mayor.
No, when I first looked at it, I was like, wow, that's pretty plain. It's just not exciting, but when I ran through how it looks on electronic posts like Facebook and how you can, embrace opportunity and put it to your left and honor tradition on the right sometimes. I'm not wild with this purple in the back. I like the actual purple H, not the reverse outlook.
That one.
That's, yeah. But one question I have is that Hampshire script font a normal font or is that hand drawn?
It is a font. I'll have to get it for you because we went through 15 or 20 of them. So I'll get you the actual
That's
font.
all approved. You'll be able to package the fonts and the design.
Yes.
All that, EPS files, whatever we need, because there's all the
Like the
printing applications and sign applications and, I'm sure you know all that.
Yeah, we'll give you the color, the PMS numbers, and yes, the actual font, and like you said, the drill.
Okay. What PMS color did you pick? Do you happen to know for the purple? The 266?
Well, and as you know, there's coded and uncoded. So again, I'll get that for you. I'll send that an email to Jay actually tonight.
Well, I might be the only one, but I just tell you, Mayor, that I'm really excited about this. I think it looks great, and I did go through we talked a little bit the other night, it's like making hot dogs. It's not fun to watch it get made, but the end product is good. Similar to Lawrence Springfield, we used to use that.
Are you kidding me? I knew it was something.
But I think, the only other point I would make is I think, you've heard me say before, a good plan well executed.
There's only one other town of Hampshire in the whole country.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hedges.
No, you guys.
Ms. Vasquez asked why we took the village, but it doesn't say village of.
So
I was just curious.
trustee Reed specifically brought up, should it say the village of for Hampshire? And our comment was by not saying that, you have a broader application of it. And that people.
And what was my comment? If anybody in this town doesn't know they're in a damn village or shouldn't even shame on that.
But some of it was, we should take ownership of our identity as the community, right? And by saying village of, we're segmenting that we're one thing. This was more about who Hampshire is as a.
Yeah, no, it definitely plays to all, Chamber of Commerce, town, like everybody said, it's across many boards that you could use this for. So.
All right, Jude, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the most important thing from this point forward is we have a good solid logo and a good solid, what's the phrase you use, Aaron, instead of tagline?
Graphic idea.
Oh, the motto or
You had a marketing word last night. I mean, I think the most important thing going forward is that we all really get behind this and not be questioned and not show a lack of enthusiasm, and that we promote it. I mean, the most important thing is that we promote it, we put it out there. We will offer it to the other governmental agencies and the chamber. Part of this contract includes developing the chamber logo around this, provided that the chamber supports it. And Jeannie has been brought along with everything except this last version. I didn't see this one until just minutes before this meeting. Because there were changes made by the committee just last night. So I think it's really a great logo, and I think what's really important now is that we use it effectively and that we promote it and it becomes our identity. At this point, it's just a logo and a tagline. And now the next phase is begin the branding.
You don't like it, Chief? You don't want us to put this on your new uniforms?
I like that, it's fresh, but on the uniform, no.
how about on the side of your car?
You could go police department or something under.
I don't know, maybe somewhere on the car, but I don't know if it'd be.
Get you spinner wheels and.
How about a
We're
patch?
gonna make you.
How about patches?
Trustee Coe said,
How about
young,
patches?
fresh.
What do you-
Or-
I guess,
Oh, yeah, I like that.
I guess maybe
Put up
that's a
my
question.
silver car first.
Mr. Harris, Mr.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes, trustee Reed.
Would you, do you have any opportunity or any other examples of how you would incorporate a municipal logo for a police department?
Yeah, good question. I will say that in most of the communities in which we work, that police and fire identity is not changed drastically because they're police and fire. You will see it change on public works, but on police and fire, you usually see you'll see it incorporated in some way. And I'm just working from memory here. I think, for example, Richton Park has the village logo on the back, on the back end of the car, but not on the sides. So public works is usually all in. Police and fire, because of the nature of what they do, usually incorporates it in some way. I'm not sure that you're going to be cruising around in a purple car. I think you should probably state that up front. And by the way, Mayor, the font is Shelby. So.
Okay.
You're safe, chief.
No, I was just curious as far as like graphic identity, if we're all trying to push it or whatever, can we incorporate it into something that you're doing? Not saying take over the identity of.
No, I understand it. I think there probably is some space that we can find to kind of promote that. Yeah, I'll bring it down smaller and.
Yeah, like a bumper sticker on.
Well, no, he would put it where the tow truck would hook up on his car.
He's gonna start the social media campaign, not my logo.
Not in my car.
All right, anything else for A5? I think we're all in agreement that this is definitely.
I don't think that we need to do any voting on it.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, all right, so
The PR committee voted unanimously to make this recommendation to the board.
Yeah.
So the board needs to take action.
So do,
I will entertain a motion to approve the Hampshire logo from A5 branding.
As well as the tagline.
As well as the tag,
Right.
as well as the tagline.
Oh, with it, yeah, I figured that was all part of the
Yeah.
logo.
I'll make your motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Klein. Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Mr. Grzecki.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you. Voice and a key fob.
Just thank you for putting up with us during this exercise. I mean, it was a lot of fun. There were a lot of long meetings.
That
The
was fun.
PR committee did a great job. Thanks for the BDC for being involved.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to staff. Thank you to you as elected officials. And like you said, the BDC and the PR committee, a lot of work. And you guys, I mean, I think you captured it. We spent a lot of time on this and got a lot of feedback, input, direction, guidance. And I came out with, so just glad that we came out with something that you like and will champion. And I think for those who may not love it yet, I think it will grow on you because that's often what happens over time. So thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Talking to me.
Oh,
All right.
no, I was talking to the chief, actually.
All right, Mr. Robinson, planning and zoning,
No report.
public safety,
No report.
Everyone's nice.
field
No,
and trail,
there now.
I
right?
got quite an extensive report.
We're feeling
Perfect, thank you.
You are getting a new trail. You better have a good report.
I'm jacked. I'm so excited.
It means you have to shovel it each time it snows.
I don't even shovel my own sidewalk, so I have to find someone I can pay to do that.
For village services, Mr. Hedges and I will be meeting on the 25th with Vaughn Kushner, our rep from Waste Management.
Oh, goody.
This year is the Waste Management contract renewal. So this is the first of what I'm assuming will be a couple of different meetings, but we're going to review what our current contract is. Vaughn has sent over, and I will forward that to Mr. Hedges, a list of services that they also offer that we don't take advantage of. Things like paper shredding, and they do different types of bins that we can talk about, or there's different options.
Why are they sending it over now?
Because the contract's up in May.
Well, I understand, but I mean, we've had this contract with Waste Management. How long have you had it?
This is their first renewal since I've been on the board. It's like a 3-year contract, I think.
So this is stuff that we've had all along. They just never told us.
Well, whoever negotiated the last contract chose what we had. And
Okay.
since then, we've adopted things like we did the at-your-door service.
I got you.
So I had asked him specifically, are there things you offer that you're not aware of?
I got you.
Because we don't know what we don't know. And can you provide that as, here are other options that we do in your community that you aren't currently utilizing? There's always costs associated with that, so they may not be worth doing anything. Anyway, so that meeting is gonna take place just as an introduction. In addition to that, Michael Flood of Flood Brothers Disposal had reached out to Linda, who forwarded me the contact information, wondering if they know that our contract expires in June, so they're wondering if we're interested in talking to them. I will be setting up a meeting with the Village Services Committee to talk through it. My recommendation right now to that committee is going to be that we should go to bid anyway. Not saying we won't use Waste Management, but we should at least have a process and a bid process to see what's out there, what services are available. And then based on that process, come back with with the village board to make the recommendation of which, and then offer, here's all the different bids we've received, right? So just wanted everybody to know that meeting's gonna take place. We're in the early stages. The contract is up in June, so my guess would be we have to be pretty close by April to be able to make that decision so that the contracts and legal can go through things for an approval in June. Or before June, when the contract's up, so it'll have to be in May.
Well, that end, if we do decide to choose vendors, it's gonna be one of these things where we're gonna, or switch vendors, we're gonna have to get the old cans out and they're gonna have to deliver new cans before pickup can even start.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, all of that would be considerations for the village services committee to go through. And things like business services and who offers. So there's Flood Brothers and there's also, I think, Marengo Disposal is another organization.
I don't know if regular.
MDC.
Or MDC.
NDC, yeah.
Yeah, we use them at the park district.
And there's also, the group do residential?
So, once I think it gets out, then we're gonna go to bid, if that's the decision of the board or of the committee, like we should do that. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of things coming in. Out of respect for the relationship with Waste Management, we should meet with them first before we talk about the entire process. That's all I say. Oh, not many recycling violators. I still get a list every week. I think this last week was like 5 houses. So it's getting better.
Oh, wow.
Everybody's putting it in their.
Were we like 80% of
Have
one?
they told you how, what percentage?
We haven't
you
done
have
the
to
audit.
use?
Like, we haven't done the audit again yet because when COVID hit, we put the program on hold and that was supposed to be when we did the full notifications and then they were gonna do another motion, but not knowing like, were their employees going to be working, were they not? So it's on hold for right now. I'm sure when we get back into it, we'll get it.
Is it trustee Krajewski? He doesn't even shovel his own sidewalks. Is he a recycling violator?
I was gonna ask, was my house on there? Cause there's a good chance. I misunderstood recycling the better part of my adult life, I think.
He doesn't throw his own garbage out either.
I got
He doesn't sell his own sidewalks.
Oh, wow. I
Who's
don't.
your kids for that?
I've got kids for that and yeah, come on now, I'm old.
You should see it, man. When he walks outside, his kids actually shovel in front of him before he gets to his car.
No, they drop rose petals.
I'm curious now, because trustee, there's somebody from your area count on that list. I'm just looking real quick.
Probably 500.
What is 500 Fox Run?
Smart ass.
Ooh.
I think you're young and hip.
No, there's Cesario Drive, Justin, Eaststone, Jubilee, Edgewood, Fieldstone, Hampshire.
No, I don't ever. Grease my guy.
Tommy
Oh,
Fox out.
my God, too, just kidding.
Fox out's my boys.
All right, public works have anything?
No, sir.
No?
Sir, sir.
They've been doing a great job.
Snow plowing.
Salty mostly.
Yeah.
Township on the other hand?
All right, any new business or other announcements before we adjourn?
Mayor, I just have one quick announcement. We tested 88 people at the high school last Saturday. And the health department said that the number of tests has gone down dramatically, so they're very satisfied with that number. We will have another test this Sunday, the 24th, at the high school again. And our first employee will be vaccinated tomorrow.
Fantastic.
You? No.
There go my age.
Public work. Someone in public work.
Yeah, I went out there to the test site. It was super easy. I just wanted to take a picture and there was nobody there. So I'm like, I'm here. I'll go ahead and get a free test. And super easy. And I got the results. I took the test. It was a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
I got the result Monday morning.
Right.
Nice. So.
Yeah, I think Kane County's just been great to work with.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
I got nothing.
I want to take a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Sure.
Roll call.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klein.
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Jackie.
You bet.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
He comes, he's good to work with. His laws.
Night, y'all.